Hello, and welcome to some Derps Talk About Games. I'm your co-host, Mango.
And I am your co-host, Buddy.
And today we're going to do a post-mortem on Iron Gods. But before we do that, Buddy, why don't you let the listeners at home know what we do on this podcast?
Well, it's pretty simple. We like to talk about games. And because this is the Iron Gods podcast, we decided to get as many of the crew together to talk about the game and everything. So guys, why don't you introduce yourselves?
Hey, I'm Mark. You may know me as the GM of Rise of the Rune Lords and Beatbox.
And long-time recurring guest on this podcast.
Yeah, and who comes on this podcast every time we talk about D&D stuff.
All right.
Yeah.
I am Nick. I was the GM for Iron Gods. I am a player in Rise of the Rune Lords, and I don't know, maybe I'll come on the podcast more.
Hi, I'm Jew. I play Muher in Iron Gods.
Okay,
That's
great.
I'm sorry I'm not as active as all of you in this.
Yeah, awkward silences.
My
No,
apologies.
we're really good at awkward. I mean,
Yeah.
we probably should have rehearsed that opening a little bit better.
Yeah.
But this podcast, it's from the heart, listeners. It's from the heart. So yeah, Iron Gods is over. We've been playing for how long have we been playing? Do you guys remember when we actually legit started?
I think it was
A really long
fall of
time.
2 years ago.
Jeez, God. Yeah.
Wait.
Well, because we did take that gigantic break in
Was
the
it-
middle,
was it
where
like
we
this
did
past
play for
summer?
2 or 3 months.
No, it wasn't this past summer. I think it was like the October that the Path got released.
Yeah, actually, when did the Path come out? We should probably know that.
I think it was fall of 2014.
I think you're right.
I think that's about when we started.
Yeah. But it's been a long journey, a long road. To be honest,
Last
this is
fall,
only
not 2 years ago.
maybe this is only the second
shit, it
or
was 2
third
years ago.
campaign I've ever actually finished in my
Anyway.
career.
Yeah, it's one of very, very few campaigns
Yeah.
that a lot of them get off the ground, a lot of them go for a while, some of them just putter out into non-existence.
Yeah, that
But-
happens. That happens quite commonly with D&D. Who knew? But I'm really glad that we could finish. I really liked high level play. It was nice, kind of getting up there. But
It was kind of silly. I had a good time, though.
yeah, well, what I really enjoyed about it is how kind of raw and hardcore mechanics focused it was to a certain extent. As a self-professed theater kid, for a lot of times, it's nice to just kind of stretch my
Rolling
power
chops.
gaming, my rolling chops. Yeah, practice my rolling in making Coldbjorn.
And yeah, I thought it was neat because Buddy, you and I played a little bit more traditional martial characters. Didn't get to play with a lot of the tech toys, or didn't want to play as much with the tech toys as much because we were we punch things or rage at things.
Yeah, when I originally conceived of this character, I had envisioned a cyborg end, I was going to work really hard on getting all these cybernetics, but then kind of as we got on with it, I just kind of forgot about that. It became all about this public charge tripping build, which
But yeah, Mark and Jew both used a lot of that tech stuff. They both used a lot of tech guns. Jew played a technomancer. I think Mark, did you?
I started as a tech slinger, and I multi-class rogue, went back to tech slinger, multi-class rogue, then fighter, and then finished up with rogue.
So
that's one way to do it. Did you
you
play the archetype for rogue, by the way?
I did. I played both of the Numeri archetypes. I played the tech slinger and the Numerian scavenger.
I honestly, I did not really keep track of anybody's character besides myself and Atticus. I just kind of trusted that you guys knew what was going on. I never wanted to figure out what an X laser was.
Yeah, so
It is pure awesomeness, is what it is.
So how did you guys feel about the tech rules, Jew and Mark and Nick too? Since you obviously used a lot of it from the GM side of the table, shields and robots and whatnot.
I really enjoyed it. I think it is something you can't just kind of plug and play into a game. I think it deserves its own sort of merits. And honestly, I think it would be fun to do a campaign with only tech and no magic. I think it's definitely doable.
Oof, that's an interesting concept. Only tech and no magic.
That sounds pretty fun.
The tech did frequently either replace magic in a number of spells or work fairly parallel to magic. As sitting on the GM side, there's a fair number of technological objects where it's like, well, this item basically duplicates the effect of the spell. And it's like, okay, yeah. And sometimes they shortcut a little bit with just saying like, oh, it's this or this, it just does this spell, or that spell, or this list of spells.
Yeah, that is actually kind of interesting. Drew, what did you think about the Technomancer Prestige class? I'm just interested.
Let's see. I mean, it had a lot of cool things to do. I mean, I could cast extra spells using just extra batteries I had lying around. But I don't know. I feel like the Keystone was super.
You can cast more spells from batteries.
Yes.
He had a limit as to how many charges he could
I
use
have
that way,
limit.
but he could
Jeez,
cast
that's
more
actually
from
super
spatters.
awesome.
And he
That
did
was going
that
to be like,
regularly.
dear God.
To be honest, I kind of feel like
still,
to a certain extent, Mooher carried us
prismatic
through
spray off that.
through a lot of like the later game. I was impressed with how much for a first time player. I was impressed with how much usefulness Mooher had compared to kind of his, level like 3 Mooher was kind of like whatever, but
he was more dangerous to the party than he was to the enemy a lot of the time.
Excuse me, sir,
Yeah.
but maybe when I see a door, I gotta open it. I mean, what's behind it?
That was
I think this brings up a good topic, which is the unexplained mystery of the adventure where Jew did everything perfectly. And
Oh my God.
that was
that?
a very unexplained mystery. I liked a lot of stuff about this game, but like that was just like it really stood out.
Because I am not the most patient man in the world, and occasionally I would get angry at Jew, but there was this one, he was kind of like dodder along and do silly things. And this one episode he's like, "No guys, I got this," and he just perfectly. What do you guys remember what we were doing for that? Because
Yes, I do.
What did you do for that, Jew? What did you do for us that episode or for that adventure?
Let's see. That episode we were in. What's it? Starfall?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Starfall.
Oh, right.
That's
It
right.
was late in the game, but it was just like,
That was
what?
pretty late.
Anyway,
Fuck. Wait, how did we start it though? I can't remember how that started though.
well, what was great was like for most of the campaign, you were just kind of derping around, then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it was just like instant tactical genius, and you did everything. You carried us.
That week we were all like, "Is Jew going to be like the new genius of the party?" And then the next
And then
week he's
immediately-
like, "Derp!"
Yeah, that was true. What was what were your guys' like favorite moments in the game?
I think the end I actually really enjoyed just because of the thematic kind of content. Because like everyone got to do something cool. And then obviously the really creepy thing was pretty funny. I really enjoyed
Oh
that.
God, Mayanda or Cassandra.
Why don't you tell the audience at home the saga of Mayanda and Cassandra? Just so the audience gets the full impact of what was like a troll a year in the making.
Yeah, basically. So I basically made a waifu, and I spent the entire campaign waiting to do it. So during the very first adventure, the party, the end boss of the first chapter was this priestess of one of the eponymous Iron Gods. And I was like, no, we have to spare her. We got to be good.
No, she was a what's the word?
No, that was right.
She was a cleric.
Let's be
real,
Mark. Let's be honest for all of the listeners. You read the first book and you read that paragraph.
No,
that
I
said,
didn't.
You 100%
Legit-
did. You
No, I
didn't.
No, legitimately,
Because there's a paragraph in there that literally says, like, if the party chooses to spare her over the next couple of books or whatever, like, yes, you can.
Dude.
Show her the error of her ways.
Dude, literally, I was trying to play someone who was focused on redemption, with like sentient people. It was an engineer. It made sense. No, I didn't fucking read the book.
Okay, whatever you say.
Anyway,
that didn't happen.
so they killed her, and I like creepily snuck some hair like into a locket with sleight of hand.
God, that's so
and held
creepy.
onto it for like 50 sessions until we came to like a clone pod. And along the way, we found an AI in like an iPad. So it was basically Siri. I basically gave Siri a body made from like the woman that got away by being killed. So it was kind of like that Joaquin Phoenix movie, but infinitely worse. It's just the worst thing you can imagine.
Yeah, I think that actually sets a pretty good tone of like what Iron Gods like was. Like it's like a microcosm, you know? Yeah, I don't know. My favorite, I was talking about this the other day. I guess I was talking about this with Mark, but my favorite part was definitely Scrap Wall. I don't really know if it's just because like I've been on a gigantic Mad Max trip since Fury Road, but like I really liked that whole book. It like really hung together from beginning to end, and I felt like there was it was one of those places where like it didn't feel like a D&D campaign to a certain extent. Like it felt like
It felt Fallout.
like I
think
actually got immersed in it for like the most for Scrap Wall, which is why I enjoyed it the most. Though I did get fucking what happened to Garmin Ulreth?
We killed him, didn't we?
No.
No.
He's the one who got away, and I was going to have him come back, and then I never did.
Yeah, what the fuck?
In part because Buddy so expected him to come back that I was like, you know what? He doesn't matter.
It was such such a big thing for like I was trying to find like a really good reason for like hardcore apathetic chaotic neutral Kolbjorn who just wants to fight guys to go on this hero mission, right? And so tracking down this dude who he's just always fucking hated to go like actually beat his head, and I was like, yeah, that's a good motivation. I'm really in character for that. And we just never found him.
And every time we went somewhere new, you happened to mention, "Oh, hey,
I was always like, hey, I look for this guy." Oh.
Nope, he's not there.
God, so frustrating.
He's in another
the biggest cock block of my D&D career.
So, I think my favorite book was actually surprisingly not book 4, but book 6. I really liked the Mega Dungeon.
Which one was book 4?
Book 4 was the Lovecraft. Yeah, that was Scar of the Spider.
Book 4 was Scar of the Spider.
Why would we expect that to be?
Because it's Lovecraft and shit.
I didn't even really remember. Really?
Yeah.
So the thing is that it was all full of aberrations that were all these weird, horrendous monsters, which is, of course, what Mark always goes in for and adds to every single one of his campaigns.
That's true. I think I have just like when I hear Lovecraft, I think about a separate thing than to me Lovecraft
he thinks
is
of
always
a penis
about
boat, a Lovecraft.
Dude, I remember how it started now.
Well, because when I think Lovecraft,
I
think Lovecraft, I think of like the like the real like hardcore like existential horror. And
well, that's not really Pathfinder Lovecraft though.
Yeah, no, I know exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like when I think of Lovecraft, I'm thinking about it in those kinds of terms, rather than the. You kind of can't really do that in Pathfinder, I'm of the opinion, because Pathfinder is just fundamentally like a hero story, where you know what I mean?
It's
like,
cool though.
Lovecraft should theoretically be about like the fear of your ultimate meaninglessness and like lack of power, right? But Pathfinder is inherently, systematically not that. As you play Pathfinder, you get better and better and better, and stronger and stronger and stronger until you can just fucking fight Cthulhu, which kind of runs counter to
one is grim dark, the other is noble bright.
Yeah. Though I don't think that said, I don't think it's all that wrong to reference it this way. I totally see what you mean. I'm just saying this is what I think of in my head when I hear that.
So Jew, why don't you tell us about your excellent adventure, since you've remembered the details?
I remember. We were in Starfall. We had just recently arrived. We had killed some drug dealer or something. We walk into the market. There's a guy selling a really cool item that I want. but it's way too expensive and I can't get it. And just when we're about to leave, an officer of the Technic League walks in and tries to basically, I think, magic mind control it away from him or something. And
Yeah,
we see
suggestion or
that,
something like that.
something like that, and it fails and it breaks out into a fight and we quickly kill her and take her shit. We get her Technic League badge, and then I bluff my way through the entire Technic League compound into the second in command's
That was super funny.
the second in command's office.
Oh my god, that was great.
That's right, and then we teleported him out.
And then she immediately knows who
No,
I
she teleported
notices.
you guys out.
She teleports all of it. Wait, no, I stealthed the rest of the party with me.
Yeah,
That's right.
That's right, because we teleported the barbarian king outside the compound.
No. That was before this.
Oh, that was
No, that
before
was-
this?
Leader,
was
the
later,
second in
yeah.
command
Okay.
teleports us out and is like, "Who the hell are you?" I didn't like her anyway. Whatever. You want to work with me? I want to take down the leader of the Technic League. He's crazy.
Dude,
We go-
actually... Go ahead. No, you're good.
Actually, we hatch a plan to kill the king who the Technic League is controlling.
That worked out so well.
I decide to take over the role of the guy who delivers the king's drugs while stealthing the entire party past all his
Oh
guards.
my god, that was
And
such
as I go to
a good
hand
session.
off the drugs, I dimension door all of us but Felix, who disappears out. Everyone else dimension doors out, and we kill the king all by himself. It
So-
was so perfect.
It was amazing.
So
That was-
basically,
yeah.
they go in, they kidnap the king, I'm left alone, and I shoot a rocket, which I have a cape that lets me vanish and fire, to turn invisible, to run away, because I knew I would make a reflex save. That was a great thing. It was the-
I really liked all of Starfall. I was really into like those. I liked kind of like the Technic League politics, and I thought that we like played those dungeons pretty interestingly.
Yeah, Nick, from the
That
DM
castle looked difficult, though.
Yeah.
It had everything.
Nick,
I'm
from your
really
side of the
glad
table,
we got past that.
how was one? How did you feel about that resolving? And two, how was that supposed to play out? Where you're just supposed to like slog your way through like 1,000 guards to the throne room?
Well, the thing is that book 5, more so than most of the other books, was more sandboxy. It had a couple of things that were kind of set, and then there were just 2 big dungeons, castles, or whatever, and you were supposed to just kind of make it up as you go along. The castle in particular, it kind of set it where it was like, okay, there are a number of rooms that are open to the public and a number of rooms that are off limits. If you get caught off limits, it raises the alarm. But you could basically walk up all the way to the throne room in order to speak to the king. And so you did.
But what
And-
happens then? That room was packed.
Technically, if you guys fight the king in the throne room with all the people all around, you're supposed to get into this huge brawl and actually fight all of them. In theory, one of the things that was supposed to be an option was for you to challenge him to a duel. But because of the setup beforehand, that didn't really make sense. So instead of him and like a handful of his like best buddies in like a 5v5 duel, or you select a champion versus him and go one-on-one,
That would have been interesting. I wonder if I bet Kolbjorn could have done it. I bet Atticus might have been able to do it.
he was
if you
pretty
remember,
strong.
he killed you before you killed him.
I don't
That's
remember,
right.
but okay.
He was strong as fuck. I remember that
like,
shit.
He killed, I'm pretty sure it was Kolbjorn. I know it was one of the party members, and then you retreated to a back alley after you killed him, and Severin Breath of Life to you. Or no, not Breath of Life, Ultimate Mercy.
The Mercy, yeah, the Mercy.
So you weren't really dead for very long. It would probably be reasonable to say that it was kind of like emergency medical resuscitation after a cardiac arrest. because you sort of live for a couple minutes after you die, so to speak.
Hit points are an extraction, everybody. That's all.
Or at least, basically, you die in some respects. Your heart stopped, but your brain didn't die yet when Sivrin brought you back. But yeah, Dimension Door, hell of a thing.
That was so real. I can't believe that works.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Part of it was also that I was already kind of flying by the seat of my pants since the section that went before that, when they snuck into the Technically compound and went to I should remember her name.
It's the second
in command. When you reached her, I hadn't fully prepped all of that stuff. I had the maps, but I hadn't actually put all of the NPCs and monsters and other things on the map yet. So I kind of was like, well, shoot. Let's just roll with it. Also, at that point in time, you hadn't done anything to really raise the alarm in the city, so there wasn't really a reason for the Technic League to really suspect you at that point in time. But yeah, shit was crazy.
That was a really great session, just for the amount of stupid shit we did that succeeded.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I was a really, really big fan of the mutation.
Oh God!
Oh my!
That was another amazing
great
session. I think we wasted an entire session on that.
That
shit.
that was a great session in like the context of like we'll talk about it or whatever, but like actually thinking about it, it was so dumb. Like
it was really dumb.
So
it makes a good story, though.
So, for the listeners' reference, back in the third book, they went to a town called Yadenve, where they were given some indication that there was an important technological bit that they needed to find to get some information to fight the big bad. And in the basement, they also find a mutagenic...
That's when Sivrin was still Barry. Man,
that was my god.
Geez, that was
that was like when he started to not show up.
At the cusp of... That was one of Enoch's first sessions, if I remember correctly.
So for those of you listening at home, we actually had a replacement of a PC, but not in the way you'd think. You see, we had someone else just start playing that character, like on a whim, and then they became the actual, like, permanent one.
Yeah, that was probably one of the better ideas for like the health of the game.
Yeah,
because otherwise, like, I think we were in some danger of like that petering out kind of thing, and getting Enoch and having him be, consistent.
And not only that, but it's Enoch. So Enoch was super exuberant. Unfortunately, he can't be here tonight because he has to go learn something or something.
Take classes.
Learning so silly.
That was at the beginning of his D&D career, so he was always hype to play. So he really put a kick back into the campaign, I think. Also,
yeah.
To be frank, I think he played the character of Sivrin as Barry wrote it better than Barry did.
I honestly kind of think that this is a little bit of a holdover, because we had another game before this that did in fact peter out, where we were playing Skull and Shackles, and Barry in that game was playing like basically like a grad student who had never been in a fight before, and so he was absolutely useless, right?
That entire campaign was fucking cancer.
I 100% disagree with you, but anyway, I think the backlash on Barry may have made him kind of overcompensate by not playing Sivrin at all. You know what I mean? Because we gave him so much shit for Fortis.
Did you really feel that strongly about Skull and Shackles, Nick?
I love that game so much. I
love the first couple of sessions. Was the party just not shaping into what the campaign demanded of it?
Taylor was pretty bad.
Oh, there's Taylor.
Taylor was cancer. Like,
It was
So-
basically me and Barry. I think we kind of
you and
sunk
me,
that.
yeah, I think you and me might have positive interpretations because you and I were playing fairly straightforward. We
Yeah,
were playing good
there were 4
characters.
characters in the campaign. I absolutely hated 2 of the characters, and then out of character, there was a little bit of shit going on with the other 2 players, and
true.
then
Yeah.
combine that with the fact that when Skull and Shackles shifted from book 1 to book 2, it goes extremely open sandbox, and it doesn't give you any maps whatsoever. And I was trying to get my shit together, but between the not liking the party and struggling with how big the sandbox was and how much I had to do to get the sandbox into shape, I think if I had been doing that in person, it probably would have been better. But for online, I wouldn't want to run Skull and Shackles again.
Well,
Those
so that
first couple
sounds
of
like it's
sessions were super great though. Like,
Yeah.
I think it was a really testament that we kept everybody would get in Mumble that night, you know, and then it would just be like, hey, do you guys want to play Skull and Shackles? It's like, yeah. So we ended up playing like 3 or 4 nights a week for like 2 weeks in a row, and that, you know, like we were so into it. It was so immersive or whatever, and it, to a certain extent, I definitely see what you're getting at, and I think that it could have. You know, like it could have gone kind of off the rails, but because we kind of ended it where we did, it created this really nice capsule in my mind for just like
I wrote a 2-page thesis on how Harpoon should work.
Oh my god.
Oh, I remember that.
Yep.
Anyway,
you
sorry,
did.
I interrupted you, Mango. What were you saying before?
Oh, I was gonna say it sounds like we need to at some point make a road trip and all meet up and run the whole thing in one go, right, guys?
That sounds
So-
good. Let's do it for Gen Con.
But Gen Con,
So-
no, we have to do other things at Gen Con, but
Fun fact, I actually paired an entire Skull and Shackles campaign with my other friends in college, and it just didn't work because they took some adjusting to D&D. So the campaign ended up like falling apart, but I would probably run that again. I've got all the kit. I've got the kit for it.
I would love to play in another Skull Shackles. I just love that.
I love pirates.
I love
Why?
pirates. I have so many characters that I feel like really fit in that mold really
I,
well.
I would just want to run Ralph again.
I actually think I would like Buddy to run that game. I think he would be, because it's so sandboxy, it kind of gives him room to fill in the edges of the map,
That's
which
true.
seems to be what he enjoys
I'm
doing.
a gigantic fan of that.
But anyway,
But anyway, getting back to Iron Gods, dreams of future campaigns aside, you know, you all kind of talked about your favorite moment. My favorite moment. This is sound kind of cheesy, but it was absolutely the final fight, because you know, everything kind of worked out kind of in a very picturesque way. The music selection was absolutely perfect.
that was great.
Like it started with One Winged Angel, or the Sephiroth song from Final
Yep.
Fantasy, and then, you know, as the fight turned, it turned into Save the World from Undertale, and I just thought that was perfect, and then just the fact that, like, for whatever reason, the god didn't have immunity to like my grapple shenanigans, and my like just the ability for us to just kind of like I grabbed the god and held him in place and that kind of stuff, and just I think everybody's mechanics kind of came out and everybody got to do something cool. You know, like Jew got to like send several digital angels to different planes. Felix got to shoot a bunch of stuff. Sivrin got to heal some guys. You know, all
Actually,
You know,
Well, I
this
like
is
the-
the stupidest thing, but I'm actually a little butthurt that I didn't get to kill the Linorm King. I think that is like the perfect end. That is the perfect end to Kolbjorn, right?
Kill steal.
There's the Linorm, right? We kill the Linorm, and Kolbjorn goes and becomes a Linorm King in the adjacent, you know, land of the Linorm King section. And like, as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, this is so perfect. And then fucking Felix kills him, and I was like, God damn it! Like,
I mean, to be fair, it wasn't a real Linorm, so you couldn't have.
so the other thing is just like, I'm so close to saying, hey, remember that first boss we fought?
oh my god.
I actually just thought of that now, but at the time I definitely would have said it.
The cock block of all cock blocks.
But that was a great fight. I think just like the very last round was probably one of my favorite D&D
Yeah.
moments. because it was basically the two sets of brothers and Mujer. Mujer is like busy holding back these hordes of guys that are gonna wreck us.
And was
Sivrin,
also a dragon.
Sivrin runs to my. I was down because I wanted to save my waifu, and then Sivrin comes, gives me the lay on hands. I need to get back up. The two brothers are fighting it out, and then I finish it with the snipe. That was really cool. That we all kind of came together on that very last round to hit the boss in our own way.
Yeah, no, it was amazing. I don't know. That campaign had a very satisfying ending.
Yeah.
What about you, Nick? What was your favorite moment from behind the screen?
My favorite moment?
Yeah.
What went perfectly for me? Where did I shit on you guys the most?
I feel like
Dude, what about the time you had like the extra enemies in that secret underground cave?
And
Like
they summoned more daemons. Oh, that was I got so butthurt about that.
Dude,
That was funny, but
no, I mean the guy with the like arc rifle.
No, the worst thing I got wrecked was when
that one.
Those bats or whatever just like ability drained us to death. Like, and I died twice at one fight.
Oh yeah!
Oh, the
traps. The trap.
That
Man,
was
I have
so
I
fucking
have
perfect.
no
That was,
recollection of this whatsoever.
this
So,
was in the sixth
like,
book, near the end,
This
on
is when
the
I'm like,
security deck.
Oh,
And
it was the clone room.
this is where they got the clone room right before they made the clone of Cassandra or clone of Meanda to put Cassandra in.
Please,
And they walk into the room and they get this ambiance that is just all filled with horror. And then
out of character, I'm like, it's definitely a haunt. But then Ju goes up, and I'm just like, yeah, Ju, why don't it's safe? Why don't you go do that?
They go in and look
will
around.
go
It's
do
like,
that.
okay, there's something going on here. Is there undead? No, they look all around. There doesn't seem to be any undead. And then they go up. It's like, okay, there's definitely a haunt in the room. We can't find anything else. There has to be a haunt. What is there that could be haunted? Well, it's probably that big, huge technological artifact sitting there in the corner. It has to be haunted. Okay. Hey, Muher, why don't you go climb in the machine and turn it on? You get some surgery implanted and shit. You have all these technological cybernetics that you want to implant. And I was like, oh yeah, sure, that sounds like a great idea. And then Felix was just thinking to himself, okay,
he's gonna die. And then
he's gonna die. Ha 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 ha. And then it turns out that the haunt spell is weird, which is an AoE Phantom Killer. And the only one in the room, because they're all in the room, the only one in the room who fails is Felix.
That was my favorite.
And he just instantly dies. Ugh.
But wait, there's more. I got hit with
and then there's more.
Severin raises me, and then the actual ghosts show up.
Yeah, because there were still undead. They were just hiding in the walls and the floor, and they all came out immediately after the trap was triggered. And that was a fun fight. I nearly wiped you guys. That was fun. And it was supposed to be a pretty easy one too, but because you guys just kind of walked right into the trap.
Yeah. No. That was even though it almost wiped us and was particularly draining. It was a neat thing.
That was a satisfying fight.
Yeah, because if I remember correctly, I think we didn't figure out it was a haunt. We were like, it's trapped or something. Like we figured out there was something happening, but we didn't quite put our fingers on it because if we knew it was a haunt, we could have just had like
Mark and I had
my
understanding.
My GM sense was tingling.
What it was.
Okay.
Like that's just the way Paizo writes their haunts. I'm like, I know it's here. I can't do anything. But anyway.
But yeah. Any other highlights? I thought of a couple more. My
appendage.
One of my.
Oh God.
That's not really a highlight, or that's like a 10-second thing, right? You have a laser penis. Congratulations.
Well, I don't think we finished the story about the half-orc. I don't think we finished the story about Felix becoming a half-orc.
Oh, you're right.
With the
Right.
mutations. Oh god.
Okay,
The
so
mutation.
as we were saying at that point in time, we were in Yananve in the wreck that was under the town, looking for some information about how to fight the big bad. And at the end of the dungeon, they find all of this mutagenic gas, which had kind of been polluting the area, and they needed to deal with it to make the area safe for the humans to not get horribly mutated when they drink the water, like is happening in Flint, Michigan. In any case,
Wow, oddly topical.
in any case,
Paizo knows.
in any case, I happened to show them. I was like, well, they're like, well, what does the mutagenic gas actually do? And I was like, well, it applies the mutant template to you. Well, what does the mutant template do? Well, you get randomly assigned bonuses and randomly assigned penalties. And then I just show them the list. And it's like, some of these benefits look awesome, and some of these penalties don't look bad at all. Why don't we try it? I'm going to go in, get myself... I'm going to purposely fail it so that I can...
Mutate.
And
And
it'll be
assume by
great.
vital form.
And then you get 2 absolutely worthless benefits and 2 horrible penalties, and you're just like this
And that's why I went again.
thing on the ground, just like, kill me.
Kill me!
And then in
And I
the
got
end,
reincarnated.
the thing is that if we raised him from the dead, it wouldn't get rid of all of his mutations. He would keep the template if he just raised from the dead. So instead they had to reincarnate him in order to prevent him from being a horribly mutated monstrosity. And he happened to get half orc on the reincarnate table.
It was good.
Yeah, Mango, what was your favorite moment? Did you say something yet?
Yeah. I said the end fight.
Oh, right, yeah. You did say that.
But I did have a couple other highlights I wanted to point out. One was in the Scar of the Spider. There was like a nest of bee creatures, and the queen was trying to escape, and simultaneously Muhir was like flying after her at like the speed of sound.
They weren't beat creatures, they were Migo.
Oh, they were Migo. Okay.
Were they really Migo? Wow.
Yes, those
Oh
were
man,
Migo.
this was great. Yeah,
Yeah,
this was great.
Muhir was
Yeah.
flying at her at the speed of sound. I was tunneling through the rock walls.
I remember that.
just like trying to cut her off, and eventually we hit this area where it's like Muhir has a wall of force up and is like dueling this Migo. This is also around the time I think that I gained the ability to turn into an Androsphinx. And so I'm standing on the other side of that wall, like snapping in Androsphinx form, ready to pounce if I need to. I was just like very tense because it looked like she was going to get out, and we had a couple enemies teleport out on us a little bit earlier in this particular
That was a good moment too.
yeah. But just this kind of like everybody like Muhir's like, aha, I have mechanics, and I'm like, aha, I have mechanics, and so we're just rapidly doing like the dumbest things that we can, like trying to tunnel through walls and zoom around. I don't know. This was like very, very fulfilling to me, I guess.
So, how did you guys feel about the power curve, like in the game? I know Buddy mentioned that he really enjoyed the high level play.
I always felt like, I mean, it almost kind of became a meme where every time we would level up, I would say about Kolbjorn, this is where my build really turns on or whatever. And I actually think that is kind of endemic of the power curve, right? Like that middle section, kind of levels, I don't know, 6 to 12 or whatever. Every level, I felt like I was just getting better and better and stronger, and there were no dead levels for me. And I really did enjoy that. I thought that was a really great power. Honestly, I think Brawler might be one of my... I could totally see myself play a Brawler again. Because, as I was going, I like this trip build a lot. But I think that there's room for a very disarm-heavy Brawler with other styles, like jabbing style, I think there's room for like the grappler kind of brawler. I'd love to dive into some of these archetypes, like
the Captain America archetype.
Like the Captain America archetype, like the Strangler archetype. Like I really loved that class. I thought it was great. So I don't know how you guys felt about my power. And then late game. First of all, late game, I was doing ridiculous damage because pummeling charge is awesome. But I wasn't even doing the damage I was supposed to be doing because I didn't have power attack turned on. I took power attack, but I never updated my macros until the very last session to add the plus 10 damage on each individual hit it would have given. Like, are you kidding? That would have been ridiculous. So that is I guess how I feel.
Yeah, no, I thought that that you did some really cool stuff too. Like just like, well, I need this feat, so I have it, and just that kind of perfectness of initiation in some cases was really cool.
Oh, flipping the dragon. That might be my single individual moment. The one where, because there's the undead dragon, this big dragon lair, and, we pummeling charge it, and then I key throw to suplex the dragon behind us, and everybody just starts wailing on it with attacks of opportunity. That was great. That was a great moment.
So, who was everyone's favorite other character? Just thematically or mechanically? Any of those things?
You mean in the party?
Yeah, in the party. Well, in the party and an NPC. Both. Let's go with both.
Huh.
I liked Atticus. I thought Atticus was great. I thought he was very consistent. It got to the point where I was almost acting out of character to a certain extent because Atticus was so in character. There were a couple of points where I wanted to go really ham on Kolbjorn with like intimidate and stuff, but I just kind of couldn't bring myself to do it because it would have ruined the kind of diplomatic thing that made Atticus great.
Yeah, well, I think that kind of fell off towards the end, but thank you for the recognition.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much that anyone could have done. There just wasn't much diplomacy to be had at the end. I guess there was the point where we convinced the people to stop worshiping Unity. That's kind of
no, we had a civil debate with the androids who hated technology, and we convinced them that even though we use technology, we could have differences of opinion and just walk away without fighting. Yeah, it was like, oh, good day to you, sir. Good day.
That was pretty good.
But to kind of complete the circle jerk, I really liked the brother dynamic that we had going. So I think my favorite character was Kolbjorn. Just the whole, just the more that we kind of tried to flesh out our backstory, the dumber it got.
Dude, the fact that we're both named Atticus Kolbjorn Voss is like my favorite detail.
And yet you won't let someone name their character after one of the players in the party.
That's just for logistics reasons. That's just because every time I say Enoch, I don't want you. I wouldn't want you and Enoch to both be like, what? You know what I mean? Like that would get so frustrating.
And you don't let people name their characters after celebrities.
Thomas Shanks. Anyway.
Yeah.
Cough.
But yeah, just that whole kind of and we're twins. One of you's a half orc and one of you's a human. Yup.
That was quite the orgy.
That was quite the orgy.
And
at one point, I think I was strongly considering having you find your mother at some point somewhere in the campaign. Probably my initial plan was Scar the Spider, and you'd find both of your fathers, and they'd have been horribly infested with the aberration bits. And I think I was even going to use Kerrigan from StarCraft as the image for your mother.
My God.
Oh wow, Jesus Christ!
Oh man,
that would have been real.
But I couldn't feel like I did enough. I couldn't do enough justice for it, in my opinion. So I didn't end up throwing it at you guys. Like, if I can't do it right, I didn't want to do it at all.
I think my favorite character was Felix. He just had so much silly shit, man. Oh my god, he got a cape that just allows him to disappear in any fire attack. At the end, he just disappeared right in front of people. It's like, nope, you don't see me. Might as well be a Jedi. Ooh, these are not the droids you're looking for.
Pew 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 pew.
It was quite entertaining.
I actually gonna second Atticus. I thought everyone's character was very good, but I liked Atticus just because the character concept was interesting, and the fact that he turned into an Androsphinx for like the back half of the campaign was just hilarious. Because I probably wouldn't have let that happen in my games.
That was
like
real.
Props to Nick.
Like, damn.
Yeah,
that Androsphinx was nuts. And the displacement tanking,
Yeah,
now that I look at it on paper, I get it. But at the time, you know what I mean? Like, it never occurred to me in my life that would be like an effective way to tank.
Yeah, I went from dying nearly every fight to like being near unkillable.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, I think also a good amount of that was just good luck on your part with calling high lows.
I like, I know Nick likes to complain about my luck skills, but I think more of that was
insane.
I think more of that was perceived in a lot of cases. I think I actually had, if you went and look back at the data, I had probably about a 50% success rate, maybe like a 52% success rate.
The thing that I think is that it's more powerful than it looks on paper, just from like a design perspective, because even if you have a 50% success rate, right, that means that half of the attacks on a full attack don't hit you, which means that the burst you take is very low comparatively. And so what it comes down to is you are soaking better because you could spread the damage out over the course of a fight better and get healed in between these in between these rounds to make that, you know what I mean? Like, I think it is better than just straight regular tanking for that reason. Except maybe like a hardcore fighter could probably, like a hardcore shield fighter could get up there, but that's,
Yeah, no, and I really enjoyed the class for a lot of those reasons, right? You get a lot of cool tools to screw around with. You've got a lot of kind of like the so the Magus is kind of like this mix of magic and martial, and the Blood Rager is very much like that as well. And I really like the mechanics that I got with my archetype, which kind of let me free cast spells when I did combat maneuvers. So it really let me play around with a lot of systems. There were basic full attacks, there were grapples, there were bull rushes, there were charges and overruns, there was spell casting while all of that happened. Mm-hmm. And for somebody like me who loves obscure, stupid rules, that was just like the perfect experience for me. And even it's like at the very end, it's like, well, we can't hit this thing, so I guess I'll cast Magic Missile. It's like the Raging Barbarian can do that. I don't know. I thought it was amazing.
Yeah. Well, as long as we all agree that Sivern was a piece of shit character, what did you guys think about NPCs?
I liked Sivern. He was basic, but that's okay.
I know. I'm just obviously giving Enoch shit because he's not here to defend himself.
Good call.
I mean, Enoch doesn't even have to defend himself because he was playing Barry's character.
Yeah.
But he built a very he built a heal bot, and heal and bot he did.
He could do a lot of different things, which is cool.
Yeah.
I was really surprised at how ridiculously effective he was, especially in the later game. We really wouldn't have got anywhere without him.
Even in the early game when it was Barry, that's kind of what held us up for so long. Is that
it's also true.
If Sivern wasn't there, I couldn't tank yet because they didn't have displacement yet, and no one else could heal because we didn't have enough healing guns to go around. So like, if he wasn't there, it was like, well, the 3D can the 3 DPS outrace the clock? For the 4 DPS.
I definitely feel that. I also, I didn't feel very tanky on Kolbjorn, but I actually kind of was to a certain extent. I definitely died a lot and everything, but I felt like I had a good amount of HP and an okay enough AC that I wasn't getting completely demolished in these fights from like a fightery kind of perspective. So anyway, what do you guys think about NPCs?
I thought Mad Peter was pretty cool. I thought he was an interesting guy.
I probably didn't give him enough. I don't think I played him quite well enough for him to. He was better written than I could play him.
Oh, dude, I liked the dudes who had the cut off lips who rubbed drugs on those cut off lips or something. They were great.
I'm trying to remember which. Oh, back
way
in Scrap
back.
Wall.
Yep.
Oh, all the lipless ones.
Yeah.
And to properly do the voices, I stuck my lips to my gums and tried to talk still.
That is kind of hard. Now that I'm trying
It's
to do it
kind of
myself.
hard to talk like this.
Yes, it's kind of hard.
I think that's part of why I like Scrapball so much. I kind of almost agree with you, Drew. He definitely stands out. Though I did like the was the ogre with the chainsaw. That was great. That was just so
It was an
great.
orc.
Or the orc. I just the arena fight in Scrapwall was super cool. I liked the leader of the Falcons that we were working with. I don't know. I don't really have one good answer.
Well, all right.
To be honest, I was actually kind of surprised from an NPC perspective that we didn't spend more time with what were the guys in Torch. I can't even remember their names. It's been so long.
Actually, like, who are you talking about?
We spent the first session saving the little girl, and then we went and found the guy in the pod, and he's an android, and he's the guy that we're all connected to. I'm totally blanking on his name.
Yeah. What's I know who you're talking about. He's the wizard, right?
Yeah. What was his name? Yeah.
Crap.
Right.
Oh, from Connor?
Yeah,
Connor. Yeah, right. So my expectation for the game was that the little girl was going to be like some kind of chosen one android, and we were going to have to almost like The Last of Us, something along those kinds of line. Like we were gonna have to protect her and keep her safe. That was just kind of like my based on nothing expectation of what the game was from the first book. And I was kind of surprised that we like left Torch so thoroughly behind in comparison to how the game kind of just moved forward.
So would you have liked that better, you think?
No, it's not really a better or worse thing. It's just it was just what I was expecting. It was just what I was, what I thought was going to happen based on nothing. Based on me just looking at it and thinking about it. I that's kind of the story that I thought they had in mind, which, was not the case.
Okay, so what other kind of stuff do we want to talk about for Iron Gods? I thought the tech rules were really good. I'm really interested in seeing how they would work in a tech-only game.
I am similarly interested. Though honestly, I kind of fear that I think it would work out, but I definitely fear that a certain subset of
player type.
Yeah, it would create a very strange party. In my experience, like what we would just be missing so many things because there's so much magic and kind of magical stuff.
But the thing is, like,
from a class perspective,
you can make the wizard grenades, you can make your DPS guns or chainsaw or lightsaber or something. I don't know.
Wait, is there a lightsaber?
I'm surprised if there isn't.
Not really.
That
there are
sucks.
some things that were
Yeah, I kind of
like
would be
lightsabers, but there wasn't anything that was directly a lightsaber.
Gotcha.
There was the plasma torch, which was sort of like it, except it was only like a 6-inch blade with like a huge fucking handle. So it's more of a light dagger.
I feel like I feel like lightsaber, having come from a background in Star Wars RPGs, I feel like lightsabers are only workable in situations where the Star Wars RPGs has a lot of rules about lightsabers for obvious reasons, and they really only work in the context of that world, right? Because the world is so lightsaber focused, it makes a lot of sense. But if lightsabers were just kind of a one-off thing here, I feel like they would be way too powerful. You know what I mean? For the fantasy that they're purportedly trying to fulfill. So it kind of makes sense to me.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I feel like if I wanted to play a full tech game, I'd rather play Shadowrun.
Yeah, that's another good point. I definitely think that I don't know. It was good. I like the intersection of magic and technology in this game. I thought that was really unique. You know, it's not something that could be replicated in other places or in other games, and I don't know. I like it a lot.
Gotta say, my archetype really did that well. I feel like Spellslinger dancing two gigantic guns was awesome.
Yeah, that
I don't
really
think
worked
I
out.
would play a Spellslinger if I had to use just regular guns. It just wouldn't be as entertaining. I had two gigantic guns. I had stupid amounts of attacks all the time.
Yeah,
It was great.
Spellslinger as an archetype is not. Having played with it myself, it works in specific situations if you want to do specific things, or if you're okay with taking kind of the power cut.
Oh, yeah.
But
It is a huge hit, I think, in terms of power.
But it works really well into the Tech-Slinger archetype, I think. I think
Yeah,
you're absolutely right about
100%.
that.
I definitely think, like you said, I think there are other off builds where it works in the context of, other games. You could play this in Carrion Crowned and be just as fine if you focus kind of in the right way. And it's just cutting half of your schools is such a gigantic flexibility hit that you have to like really walk into it knowing what to do.
Wasn't you a Spellslinger, though? So...
Yeah, that's what he cut half his spells
Right, that's
for,
what I'm saying.
not Technomancer.
The spells being cut in half is a gigantic power hit. So I feel like you really have to be honest, we probably shouldn't have recommended this to a guy whose, first game was D&D. Can you guys hear those sirens? Yeah. Going nuts. Listeners, this is real time. This is what it's like.
Right.
What's
like on the streets?
Yeah, what's like on the streets?
We play D&D in the gutter.
We probably should not have recommended Spellslinger to Drew for his first character. Like, what were we thinking?
It turned out quite well, though.
Yeah, no,
It turned out great.
It worked out super well. It's kind of a miracle, though. Is what I mean.
It's one of those where one of my kind of mainstays for new players is always kind of let them play exactly what they think they want to play, and then kind of work with them on that so that their first experience is good. And I think you kind of hit that experience pretty perfectly.
Huh. I did not know that. I wonder how I feel about that principle.
Well, that's probably a thing to get into.
I mean, he gave me exactly what I wanted. I asked him for a wizard with guns, and he was like, here's wizards with guns.
Did you ask for a wizard with guns, or did I recommend wizard with
guns?
Guns?
No,
he
you
did,
recommended that I be a wizard so I could be a technomancer. But technomancers don't have to have guns.
And then I think Mango was the one who said that you could be a Spellslinger.
Exactly. It's like, I want to be if I'm going to be a wizard, I want to be a wizard with guns. Went from there.
So as a party, do you guys think that it was pretty evenly distributed? Because I was generally happy with it. I think as a whole we were very diverse with our skill set, but there was enough redundancy that one person going down didn't completely screw us. Particularly towards the end when we had the heal guns.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't know, actually, how do I think about that? To a certain extent, I think the early game was rougher. It took a while.
Early game,
it felt like it took a while for Muher and Atticus to really turn on. But then, when they did, they turned on really hard. I think Atticus and Muher were the most powerful late game characters, so that arc makes sense from a power curve perspective.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Go
ahead.
on.
What do you think about Felox?
Yeah, his power curve was also kind of there.
It was kind
I feel Felix needed to get guns first. You know what I mean?
Right.
highly
So-
gear dependent, I guess. Yeah.
So in a certain sense, like in a certain sense, I kind of feel like the game was Kolbjorn and Sivren were kind of carrying the early game. I felt like Kolbjorn was very powerful. In that basically because trips are so good early game from like a CC perspective, that worked out really well for us. And then kind of as the game got on, I mean, this is a typical Marshall progression, I suppose. As the game got on and on and on, we were overtaken just by the synergy of the Tech Slinger and the natural power curves on Atticus and Muher. So I don't know that power curve is actually all that natural because of that robe.
I think that Atticus would have just kept going with his standard, like the level 20 power didn't do anything for Atticus, so it's not like that got picked up. And he would have
Sure,
kept
but
going
the
with
level 16 power at whatever level,
Oh, no, no.
I think that was a pretty big power spike.
Absolutely. But it was still a lot of what's the way I want to put it? I would have kept bull rushing people. I would have kept just playing the character I was playing. And I think the biggest power spike was definitely the level 8 displacement, because that's really what allowed me to kind of do what I want, as it were.
Yeah, I probably agree with that. It was probably a little less flashy, to a certain extent. Like that was almost like a hidden power to a certain extent of Atticus, but
I think if I were going to do it again, I might not play the same character that I actually did. Like, in the sense of, I would probably have built Felox a little differently as far as the characteristics go.
I would have gone Tech Slinger 4 and then rolled 5.
No, but actually, I think I probably would have just gone like straight gunslinger.
I feel
think
a little
that would have
bad
been more
because I feel a little bad because I kind of feel like you took almost like a power hit to get Snapshot, which we didn't actually end up capitalizing on as much as I thought we would.
Whatever,
which is kind of my fault. To a certain extent.
I think part of it is that around the time he got Snapshot was around the time I got the robe that let me turn into an Andrews thing. And so I went from bull rushing things. If I had bull rushed somebody through, was consistently bull rushing somebody through Felox's attack of opportunity zone, that would have been amazing.
That's true. Also, we were also getting into the point where it was less and less consistent for me to be able to trip people because they were flying with perfect maneuverability, or they had like a million fucking legs. I mean, thankfully, I was able to trip people all the way up to the end of the game, so I'm not bent out of shape about it. But the percentage of enemies that were possible to be tripped certainly decreased as we got higher and higher, and it takes time to unlock Snapshot. So. The other thing I was thinking about from Kolbjorn's perspective is I really like Pummeling Strike. I thought Pummeling was like the perfect style or whatever, but I really wanted to like go deeper into some of the other style feats. I love Jabbing Style. I think it looks great. And it wouldn't have worked in this game because hardness was such a thing, but I feel like in another game, a jabbing brawler would be just like awesome to play as because the style is really well done. Honestly, I like the later half style feats. The style feats that go 3-6-9 to get your max style, because they are powered at the keyed to 9th level as the capstone. I felt like are a little bit less interesting than Pummeling and Jabbing Style, which are 6, 9, 12, and so you get your capstone three levels later, where it can carry a lot more oomph and do cooler things.
Did you guys feel you had any on the subject of Snapshot, anything that was underutilized that you thought you would make more effective utilization of?
I think
as far as your skills and stuff go.
the perfect scenario of the brawler is kind of impossible to hit because I just don't have an encyclopedic knowledge of every combat feat. I was more or less using martial flexibility to buy either super situational feats. There were plenty of times where, like, you know, I bought dodge and mobility to, you know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm gonna have to get a bunch of attack of opportunities, right? I'll swift action, dodge mobility, right? That kind of thing. But I didn't really use it as like the truest of flexibility as it could have been, right? I kind of had a small library of maybe 20 or so feats that I constantly pulled from. You know, the whole early game, I basically used it 80% of the time to grab key throw. So I was really using it as just, here, temporarily, you have a different feat. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I kind of feel that. I think it would have been more interesting to see you adopt different styles, though. That's something I kind of regret, that, you know, you turn into a little bit of a punch bot, but there was like a lot of room to do some other cool stuff. But again,
Yeah,
there's
the
that
tough
burden of
thing
knowledge.
is a lot of those, the tough thing is getting 3 feats at once costs a full standard action, which almost never felt worth it. And the other thing is most of the style feats feel keyed to monk more than to brawler. You know, there were a couple of times where I took dragon style, but dragon style second and third feats aren't actually all that good. Right, the first feat is really good. You know, it allows you to power.
Lets you like run over difficult terrain.
Yeah,
right?
It allows you to charge over difficult terrain, and it adds a bunch of strength power to your unarmed strikes, so that 1.5 instead of 1. Right, but the second one is an elemental fist thing, which I'm never going to take, and the third one is an improvement on that elemental fist thing, which I'm never going to take. So it's just like, you know, and a lot of those feats felt that way. The notable exceptions that I did actually take a couple of times in the campaign were like boar style. When
did you take boar style?
I took boar style, I think it was in Scar of the Spider. I took boar style because it was almost kind of like a vital strike thing. To be honest, I'm almost blanking comparatively, where I was running around a lot and then hitting people, and boar style allows you to like rend up your damage, where I wasn't able to get I don't really remember off the... Oh, no, I do remember what it was. Sorry. Boar style allows you to switch the damage type, right? And we were in a place where they had DR bludgeoning, but not DR slashing, I guess. So I adopted the full extent of boar style so that my full attacks weren't getting killed by this DR bludgeoning, so that I could use it and I could get past it with the slashing damage.
Interesting.
But that was one fight in Scar of the Spider, right? Like,
right.
I feel like originally when I started this game, I didn't know much about how anything was going to go. I took a bunch of like illusion-y magic for disguises and voice altering. I was like, man, I'm gonna be the sneakiest motherfucker ever. I'm gonna do this all the time. And then it just didn't happen until finally we got to book 5. And I became the sneakiest motherfucker ever. And then it was all worth.
I think that's just kind of an artifact of the game being very dungeon focused. This isn't, you know, there are obviously certain APs that are very like super RPer friendly, you know, like I don't know off the top, Kingmaker and what's the Wuxia one, the Jade Regent, right? This is very much in kind of Giant Slayer territory where it's like it's super dungeon focused, super mechanics focused, I think.
Yeah. Drew, did you feel like you really explored all of the power of the Tech Slinger or the Technomancer? Was there anything you didn't get to do that you wanted to do?
No. Let's take a look.
And Nick, how do you think of the robots as enemies? Because I know that they were a lot of...
So one of the things that wasn't very clear to me to start off with was how exactly the hardness and the stat line was supposed to work. I ended up having to go to the forums to try and get a Word of God ruling on that. And Word of God basically said, well, it basically works as a combination of DR and universal energy resistance.
Huh.
Yep.
I don't know.
Look-
I like the robots a lot. I thought they were
yeah.
flavorful enemies. That's something that I think, this is a problem I have typically. I really favor humanoid enemies, and I typically don't go like for crazy monsters. But that can get a little, not like stale, but like I don't know, something like stale, but not. And so I thought, there was, it was great thematics in the sense of obviously there would be all of these robots, but you could also have a ridiculously wide range of them, right? So sometimes you have these Captain Falcon robots, who are medium sized, and they're saying, "Show me your moves," and then sometimes, we're fighting Annihilator Scorpions, which
That
by
was
the
a
way
lot of fun.
is another
Yeah, that was
highlight
also
of
really
mine. The Annihilator Scorpion fight in the.
The first one when they weren't trivial.
Ooh, that's another favorite now.
Was that in the
I remember.
first book? Where was that?
I think
Do you
that was in
remember?
Scrap.
Fourth.
I-
You didn't meet one before the fourth book.
But yeah, like I one of the
In
things
the
they
fourth book,
actually
didn't we like
Oh,
possess the Annihilator, and it was
second
our
book, you-
pet as we like dragged
Well,
it
in the
through the
second book,
complex?
we fought.
In the second book, you fought
yeah.
something like the Annihilators, but it wasn't an Annihilator.
Oh, okay. I actually didn't realize that. I thought it was. I thought it was like an Annihilator that had been like fucked up and was really damaged or something like that. But I don't really remember off the top of my head. I just
No, it
remember.
was
I remember
Hellions
the
chassis.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yes, you're right. That's exactly what I'm thinking of.
See,
Yeah, you're right.
I really liked, thematically at least, the fact that robots are vulnerable to critical hits.
That was really cool.
Yeah.
the idea that it's like, well, if you hit them in just the right place, they're machines, so they can't compensate, and they start to fall apart faster. I thought that was really neat. Especially because it just made critical hits that much more impactful, especially against enemies you usually had a way to mitigate your damage otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah. I really liked the robots. I thought the robots were great. I thought Hellion was also great. I liked Hellion taunting us in the rooms
Nick
with the
had some
monitors.
good burns. Nick had some sick burns during that. I
was-
remember that was
A+.
cool.
I think this also just adds to why I like that chapter so much.
I enjoyed
What was-
controlling all the robots.
I have no idea what insults I used. I was just kind of ad-libbing for the
I
most
remember
part.
at one point that there were all of these monitors, and we were breaking the monitors.
Yep.
And you said something that was really funny, and we all laughed, but I can't remember what it was for the life of me. Yeah, I'm sorry. I guess I have no idea.
What do you guys think was the worst chapter or the weakest? Like, if those were the strongest.
3, I think the tower that was not the rest of the chapter was man, I actually don't know. I have to think about this more.
I
definitely
thought
think
the
the
Yadenvey chapter was a little weaker.
That's the third one with the tower.
Well, the thing
Was
is, I
it?
actually liked Yadenvey, but I hated the tower. I thought the tower was well, I didn't hate the tower. I hated the map for the tower. It was super claustrophobic, and I couldn't get my charges, and it was just like, fuck this. You know what I mean? Like, and they were ghosts. Ugh, yeah.
Oh, dude, Ghosts fucked us throughout that entire campaign.
Yeah.
Because we're like, oh, well, we're done with Ghosts. We're not
Oh,
going to do the
dude,
Ghost type
remember
weapon.
when one of you guys walked into a closet and you immediately suffocated?
Oh yeah,
that was
Oh
really
my
funny.
god.
yeah. I
That
don't know.
was
I
insane.
think it was the chapter 3, the choking tower, is what it's
Yeah.
called.
I'm gonna go against the grain. I didn't like the Scar of the Spider. Some of the stuff was fun there, but it just didn't. It felt like, and here's a side adventure. Go do that for
Yeah.
a book because we don't know what else to put here. Like they do a lot of weird and random things that never come back again. Like there are some aliens.
And they teleport away to another planet. And they
Oh
don't come
yeah,
Yeah.
I do remember that.
I thought
One thing
that was
yay.
what I liked about Scar of the Spider is I kind of got into it from an exploration perspective, right? We had that big map, and that was pretty satisfying. But Yeah, what were we even doing? Do you remember what? I
We
don't
were
even
getting
remember.
Cassandra.
No,
Finding
in
Cassandra there.
in the choking tower. What was the purpose of the choking tower?
There was a demon that
We were trying to find the AI core, right?
no,
Or something like
Oh
that.
no!
there
It
was a
was we
demon
went
locked in the basement
underground. There
of
was
of
a
the-
djinn or something.
there was something locked in the basement of the Yadinve, and he needed us to like release him by going to the choking tower, but the guy had died or something like that.
Oh yeah, I
Right.
remember
And he
that,
wouldn't give
yeah.
us the
And he would
I don't
tell us
know,
the information to go find Cassandra.
Yeah, God, that just felt that. See, that felt like added on. Like
Honestly, I think what would have been great, and obviously, I think with our party makeup and the players and GM themselves, this might not have worked, but it would have been cool to have Cassandra be another PC of sorts, like at least another voice on the channel. I think that would have been interesting to kind of develop, like, what is a person who has no body, like, how do they interact with you? And that way it would give them more of a presence throughout the rest of the campaign.
Yeah, one of the things that I kind of felt bad about as a GM was not being able to properly make Cassandra a quality NPC. Like, I'm not the best at NPCs in general. I'm more of a let's give you guys a situation and figure out what kind of dumb shit you come up with and run with it from there.
Yeah, that's actually I think an interesting thing to kind of explore at some point. Is something like, can you make a character like you'd have to obviously give her something to do during combat, but if you could get like a guest player to come up and play that character as a voice, and like you said in the channel, I guess eventually you do give her the body with
Right.
with Mark's wife who's
But like, I mean, that aside, like, in just any campaign, like, what is it like to have a voice of a player, and how do they interact with it? I think that's a really interesting scenario.
I actually kind of think that it would have that idea, like running with that idea, would have been super neat. Like, I like the idea of adding almost a sixth person. Honestly, I just like the idea of adding a sixth person who plays as Cassandra and and is an AI, and this would probably require more homebrewing than would be otherwise, palpable.
Yeah,
But like I love the idea. Could you imagine a Cassandra who like temporarily possesses like robot bodies that you guys are fighting, kind of thing, and being able to be that character who comes in at level 10, you don't have a body, you're an AI. I think that would be so fun and so neat to play at. It's almost like, it's like playing a droid. In the second edition version of Star Wars, droid consciousnesses or consciousness can be like transferred, and you can like upgrade your droid and everything like that, but they don't gain levels conventionally. So you could upgrade your droid, and you did get better and better and better. But I had a friend who started off more or less as a pit droid, not exactly from like episode 1, and he ended up he like first he replaced his arm with a battle droid arm, and then he got this big kind of chassis from the Magna droids that General Grievous used. And I think that kind of progression mirrored to conventional level progression is super neat. That's super cool.
Yeah,
I really wanted to become a robot and do all the cool robot things, but it got way too long. It was way too difficult and expensive.
yeah.
I mean, I didn't really have rules for it, and I didn't really have any idea as to how I wanted to go about doing it for you, that I kind of made it exorbitantly difficult so that I wouldn't have to deal with it.
But
Yeah, I think
integrated
it
weapons, man. Integrated weapons.
It totally would have cost a lot of resources and time to like create a powerful enough homebrew engine to make that work.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think any of us hold that against you.
Yeah.
So before you guys settled, I'm actually interested. Before you settled on like let's troll Mark and Barry, what were your character concepts? I'm just legitimately curious.
I just wanted to, I wanted to play a Blood Rager, and the arcane thing was like, it just seemed like the neatest one at the moment to me. Just, maybe if I had played like, it seemed to be the best one for kind of like the circumstances, in the campaign. Also the most flexible if I wanted to kind of move something around, and I think I wasn't exactly sure what I think I kind of wanted to do the librarian thing, but I wasn't really sure. And then And then you guys posted your thing, and it was like, I looked at Buddy, and we're like, well, this kind of writes itself.
Honestly, I'm about to like lose all of my like intellectual cred to any of these listeners that think I have any to begin with. I was really into Entourage at the time.
Oh, jeez.
This garbage TV show Entourage, but I was really into it. And I was watching all of Entourage. And for those of you guys who don't know, there's this character in Entourage named Ari, who is he's the guy's Jewish agent, and he's so over the top, and he's a dick, but he's like funny and outrageous, and he has all of this energy, and I really wanted to try and channel that as much as I possibly could. And then we settled into and then I stopped watching Entourage, and I realized that it is a terrible, vapid television show that I had no business liking. We settled into our let's parody Mark and Barry.
I mean, it worked, right?
Yeah, it was also, it was one of those things where, I don't mean this as a diss on you, Nick, or anything like that, but I feel like if I had played a more typical me character, I would have ended up in a frustrating spot, in the sense of like, like really, really story-driven, like hardcore, you know what I mean? Like, this isn't the game for that, right? And so I knew walking into it that I had to play something a little more broad and that I wasn't going to take ridiculously seriously, because the game wasn't going to take me ridiculously seriously. And it would have just been a point of frustration for me either way. So.
Any closing remarks?
I
thought it was great. It was a really great campaign.
No, it was definitely a great time. I want to take a moment to say thank you, Nick, for dealing with us, Nick, and for running this excellent campaign.
Yeah.
Through the bullshit and the brilliance.
I feel like the bullshit was like that was the point. You know what I mean? Like the whole game was just about, the bullshit. Which, I'm with it. I like that.
Anything else from you, Jew? Any closing thoughts from the newest player? Actually, maybe that's a good thing to ask, because we still have a couple minutes. Jew, what was this like? This is your first foray into D&D. What did you think of D&D? Will you continue playing?
I am very interested in playing, man. As we've gone through this, I kind of just, since we've got this giant old website full of all kinds of information, every once in a while I'll just kind of glance through things. I'll be like, man, that's something cool. If we play again, I might play that.
Oof, he's got the thirst.
He's
got the thirst.
What are you thinking? Like, what interests you from a perspective of playing again?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what in particular?
What class?
Yeah, like
Sure.
If you were to play, like completely out there, right? Mango is starting a game, and we have no idea what we're playing. What class would you want to play?
A Skald.
Yeah!
Oh my god!
A Skald, man.
Damn it!
Oh.
A Skald. I want to be
BRB
a fucking
killing myself.
I want to be a fucking raging trumpet player who blasts fucking code
Oh,
man,
just use ska
That's
music.
perfect.
Oh god!
Oh, that was the perfect answer, Jew.
Oh my god!
It's funny. I want to take this moment to address. I hate the Skald. I really do. The Skald bugs me a lot. But actually,
Don't
on
worry, I
further
love the Skald.
rereading,
But if I was
I have actually I went back not all that long ago and reread all of the ACG classes, and I still think the Skald is my core problem with the Skald is it should be an archetype in my view, right? So it's like the problem with the Skald is the opportunity cost of its existence. I think there are other hybrid classes that fight for that spot, and it's taken up by this glorified archetype, right? But actually, on further rereading of the Advanced Class Guide, I actually think the Skald is better than the Shaman. Like, if there's any class in that guide that I think is straight up bad, I think it's the Shaman, right? Completely mixed mechanics. Completely, what weird flavor. It just seems like this, like it's like a David Cronenberg class, just like all fucked up and doesn't make any sense and is like terrifying to behold when I look on it with fresh eyes.
I don't know. I like Scald. So, Jew, next time a game runs around that I run, you can play your Scald, and I think that's kind of like the perfect way to end this cast with the Jewish Scald.
The threat of Scald.
All right, listeners. As this cast indicates, Iron Gods is over. Are you guys playing Rune Lords next week?
Monday?
No, because you're gone, right?
Are
we playing without Manga?
I didn't know if you guys were gonna play without me or not.
Oh, if you're gone, yeah, then we're not playing.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna be. So you've got a break for the next week. Then the week after, it'll be Rune Lords, and then Hell's Rebels starts on the 10th. Correct, buddy?
Yes, Hell's Rebels is going to be starting on February 10th at 6:30 p.m.
6:30 Pacific, 9:30
Pacific time. Yeah,
9:30 Eastern.
9:30 Eastern.
And any other details? If you wanna email us and tell us if you guys have played Iron Gods, you want to tell us your thoughts or tell us why the Scald is the best class for you to play forever, you can email us at somederpsplaygames@gmail.com. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter and all of those things, and I'll put links in the description. And I guess that's about it. Anything you guys want? Anything that our guests wanted to pimp?
Nope, I'm good.
I would like you to pimp my ride.
No, that's not gonna happen. All right then.
Farewell, loyal listeners.
Actually, real quick, Nick, do you know when Shadowrun's gonna start?
No.
Okay, so not that. So until next time, dear listeners.
That's fine.